I'm Kevin, and I'm joined by my co-host with Harrison Bader like hair.
Yeah, it's a weird ordeal. Katie is just proving to be childish.
Which is why I don't feel I would give $5 million to Jack Campbell.
I don't know. Baseball is one of those sports where anyone who makes the playoffs really can be a contender.
I think the Padres definitely do it.
I don't think Donovan Mitchell gets traded.
Kyrie Irving does have the track record of not being a great locker room fit, or even good locker room fit.
Bader got some luscious locks. I gotta say it.
This is Zach Bigley, the broadcaster for the Frisco Rough Riders, and you're listening to Outsiders Opinions with Kevin and Austin. You guys better subscribe.
What's up, y'all? Welcome to our NFL Opinions of the Week. I'm Kevin, and I'm joined by the man who's now his quarterback is getting paid less than mine, as we are talking about Dak, Austin.
That's true. Kevin, you have said a lot of things about this, maybe happening, maybe not happening. We didn't really know what was going to happen for sure. I don't know if you necessarily predicted it would be this much if it did happen, but I'd love to hear your thoughts, Kevin, as a Cowboys fan, as a just opinions giver. What are your thoughts on this new deal for Dak?
So I'm really surprised he actually signed with the Cowboys. I really thought he was going to be it just wasn't going to happen. You could hear how he was talking about it. It seemed like he was thinking about new teams. I don't know if that was just a tactic, but I would say this is probably the best move for the Cowboys right now. There were people in my family that weren't really happy with it, and they're like, well, wouldn't it be okay if he walked? I'm like, well, not really, because to me, the Cowboys are a team that are too good to get a top 3 spot, to get a quarterback. And even that's not right. So to me, Dak is not – the contract says he's the highest paid player. He's not the best player. He's in close to our top 10s, each of us. I had him a little bit higher. But he's not in that range, but that's just what the market is. And now I would – so that's my thoughts on it. I like it because he is a good quarterback, but I don't necessarily know if he's a quarterback you can win a Super Bowl with, just because he's great in the regular season, but playoffs, he doesn't really shine. And so that's my thoughts. I would say, though, this moves us, I've heard a lot of people talk about this moves us into a fully guaranteed contract for a quarterback, because 96% of Dak's deal is guaranteed. And of course, Deshaun Watson, it has a fully guaranteed contract, but owners haven't followed that for a multitude of reasons, given Watson and just what were the Browns thinking when they gave him that contract. So to me, I'm very excited. I'm very intrigued to see what happens in the quarterback market. I would say Brock Purdy is the next guy up.
I agree. But you're okay with it being as much as it is? You're okay with it being far and away the largest contract?
To me, that was the only way you're going to keep him, is resetting the market. So I'm not really happy with that, but the Cowboys put themselves in this position. If they had gone to him a year ago, even before, because the Jordan Love contract, the Tua contract, if they had done it before, they wouldn't be at this level. And so in a few years, it won't be the top one, but the cap is supposed to rise. To me, I would love it if he was at less, because there's only 2 quarterbacks that are worth $60 million, and that's Mahomes and Burrow. But so, yeah, I'm not really happy with it, but it's just kind of, that was the only way you were going to get him to stay. And given their situation, they had to do it.
Yeah, that's fair. I definitely think that given the situation, the only way you were really going to keep him is if they did this. I don't necessarily know if it's the best signing deal possible, just because the Cowboys historically have not been bad drafting quarterbacks, and I don't think it'd be necessarily the worst thing in the world if they went to go draft another one after the season and just gave up on Trey Lance, gave up on Cooper Rush, and just said, hey, we're going to draft a guy. I wouldn't think that'd be the worst decision in the world, because or they've drafted or even picked up their last rookie quarterbacks, whether it be Tony Romo or Dak Prescott. The last main guys they picked up have been quality.
You bring up a good point in talking about Romo to Prescott, but I would argue the 6 years of the quarterbacks is what I would want to avoid with that era, because in 2000 you have Aikman. In 2000, it was Aikman, Randall Cunningham, and Anthony Wright. But then 2001, it's Quincy Carter, Anthony Wright, Ryan Leaf, Clint Storner. That's all in 2001. Then Chad Hutchinson, then Quincy Carter again. Then you had Quincy Carter in 2003. Then Vinny Testaverde and Drew Henson. Then Drew Bledsoe in 2005. And then you have Tony Romo. So to me, that you wouldn't want to waste those 6 years because you have.
It's not
CeeDee
guaranteed,
Lamb.
though, because you didn't waste any 6 years with Dak.
Well, they got lucky with Dak.
I don't know if that's all luck.
I would say a lot of it is luck with Dak, and I don't trust the front office to do that.
Even though they've done it, technically speaking, back-to-back times, even if Tony Romo was undrafted.
Yes, but to me, I don't think they could do it a third time, and it would result in that 6 year, even 3 years, you're wasting the CeeDee Lamb, who's 25. You're wasting Parsons, 25. To me, in the next 3 years, Dak gives you the better shot unless you got a top pick.
But the problem is that you're paying him so much. It's hard to build
Yes.
around him any bigger than you already have.
Yeah, that's a fair point. To me, they're in that mess. But I would trust drafting in other areas versus drafting quarterback, because they've done well with linemen. We'll see how Guyton and Beebe turn out, but they have a pretty good track record with linemen. The wide receivers, it's to be remained seen. They do have CD, but there is Jalen Tolbert. He's still a work in progress. Defensive line is hit or miss because Mozzie's still questionable. I would say Sam Williams was looking good. I know there's a lot of hype around Marshawn Nealand. They're pretty good at drafting corners. So to me, they can fill those areas with a draft pick versus where a quarterback is very hit and miss. So to me, I don't like the money, but it prevents you from going into that quarterback abyss. But does it give you a great chance of winning a Super Bowl? I would say no.
And that's why I think you have to go all in on the next guy. I don't know necessarily if it's the best move to just. Again, a lot of the best quarterbacks in a league on their current teams have either been drafted or it was the first team that they were good on. Most of these guys on really good teams are that way, whether it's Mahomes or Lamar or Purdy or Tua or Josh Allen. I'll even throw Geno in there because Geno's contract when he was good with the Seahawks was nothing because he had been a backup for so long. Burrow, this is the first team he's been on. It's hard to see a lot of guys have a lot of success on second teams. It doesn't happen. And normally part of that's because it's a new system, but also part of it is because when you're with a new team, you're almost certainly getting paid a lot of money. And I don't know necessarily if the Cowboys can afford to do that because they're still not the perfect team. They're still not the best team they can possibly be. I know they had a great week 1 against the Browns, but that doesn't necessarily mean that this is going to be a fruitful year in terms of playoff success.
Playoff success is key here. Because if you look at regular season, the past 3 years they have done well. There is that stat. They are the second best team with wins, number 1 being the Chiefs. But then you go to the playoff success and they have not just done well there. So that's the problem with that. But regular season quarterback, it kind of seems to be what the sort of the Romo era was with Dak now, where he's a great regular season quarterback. However, Dak has more pieces than Romo did, especially near the end. or in the middle, because once 2014 they got it, but when he had all the pieces is when Dak came in. So it's they put himself into this corner, in my opinion, because you could try to risk it by starting a newer quarterback, but they believed in Trey Lance, and that hasn't worked out. And to me, if they want to compete next year, Dak was the guy, and they're just gonna have to pay the market price for that. So
It just makes it really hard to actually win.
yeah. Yeah, I would say it gives them a better chance than trying to figure out a quarterback. However, not by a lot to where you have that risk reward is what you're talking about. Do you risk the chance of not having a quarterback for a few years for the reward of getting a guy on a rookie deal and him being a good quarterback and helping you have a better chance of success? So it's not really a best forward thinking approach, but the Cowboys haven't really had a forward thinking approach in terms of extending players and stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I just there's been a lot of players, a lot of teams that have won with QBs on smaller deals. I mean, even Mahomes, for the majority of his, I don't even know if Mahomes. I'm gonna check Spot Track, but I think is it this year is the first year he's getting paid a lot?
I'm not sure. And to me, it's a very confusing contract. I would say his new deal probably started last year.
It
Maybe
did.
even.
You're right.
Yeah.
You're right. Last year he was paid 60 or 59.35.
Yeah.
And
I
then
think
this year he's getting paid 45.75. It's weird because like in 2028 he makes 27, but then in 2031 he's making 48 again. So I actually don't. It's not 50 50 50 50 50 50 50. It's a weird 500 million. But yeah, I'd say the first year he's getting paid a lot of money. The first year he's getting paid over 30 million was last year.
Mhm. And his is a weird contract, and I think it's something to where the Chiefs owners may pay out of pocket. They'll convert that cap hit into a signing bonus or something like that so it doesn't affect the books. Cowboys don't really do that. They put it all on the cap hit.
Well, I don't even
So
know. There's going to be so much money that I don't think they can do that at some point.
yeah, no, I think it would be better for them. I don't really know the word for it, but there is a stat for like cash out of the owner's pocket, basically. And the Cowboys are one of the top teams at the bottom of that. So they usually just rely on the cap and that obligation because the Eagles do something to where they'll pay a player a lot, but they won't have a cap hit, such as Carson Wentz.
I
They're
will
not,
say, if we go by cap hit, Mahomes isn't that much right now. He's 37. Next year, it's 66. So the last 2 years, it's been 37. Actually, last year was going to be more of a cap hit than this year. But next year is supposed to be 66.258. So that would be the first year that cap hit wise, he's getting a lot of money.
yeah.
Even though that's not actually what he gets. What he gets is actually his salary, which is he gets 45 next year, 45.75. But that's not necessarily what cap hit is.
Yeah. To me, the Cowboys are not very, I would say, they don't really use the ins and outs of the contracts and paying players like the Chiefs are doing with Mahomes. But to me, the team that does this the most, even though they're not a great team, is the Saints. The Saints are always reported as, oh, they're way over the cap. They don't really cut anyone. They just do weird deals that make it work.
Yeah, that happens a lot. I mean, Tampa did that with Brady before he retired. Even though he wasn't getting paid nearly as much as a lot of the highest paid quarterbacks, he still wanted to restructure the contract so that he could get the best out of it. We'll see what Dallas can do. I mean, Dak's definitely not a bad quarterback. It's just going to take a lot for him to be worth that amount of money. And I think a Super Bowl would be worth it, but I think
Super Bowl,
anything
would
below
make
that,
it
I don't
worth
know necessarily if it is.
But yeah, that's the problem. Is like he is a good quarterback in this league. He's definitely above average. He's in that top 15, I would say top 10. But to me, the question still is, can he be a guy that can help his team win the Super Bowl and be the main reasons? Or is he a guy that just does just enough? I think like the thing is, I would say like Dak wouldn't be this, but it's with the Broncos and Peyton Manning. It was because of their defense, not because of Peyton Manning. Then you could argue in past years, the Rams, I would say maybe the Rams are the goal for the Cowboys if they want to win a Super Bowl, because Matthew Stafford is good, but they had a lot of good pieces around him, including their head coach.
Yeah. It also helped that they traded away all the draft picks. So
Yeah.
it was a very all in or die, really. We'll see if the Cowboys do anything similar, but I don't necessarily think that'll happen.
Yeah, no, they're probably just going to keep doing what they're doing, and we'll see. It just all comes down to the playoffs, but yeah, Super Bowl would wipe everything away, but that's a very hefty goal for the Cowboys, and that's all we got. I'll let you close this one out, Austin.
Yeah, thank you guys for listening. Please let us know what you thought about the Dak contract. Do you think it's worth it? Do you think the Cowboys can win with it? And please catch us in our next video.